Live and located on the air with Russ Clark. Is this Senator John McCain?
Hey, how you doing, Russ?
Hey, I am doing well, sir. Good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning. I'm back trying to do the Lord's work in the city of Satan here.
Well, the city of Satan. Hey, I noticed something this morning, just reading the paper this morning. It looks like you guys own a car company now.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? And pumping $50 billion into it. During the campaign, I said they should be allowed to fail, that they could go into pre-structured bankruptcy and come out a better and more competitive corporation. Instead, now the taxpayers and the United Auto Workers own it.
Yes, and I don't know if everyone gets a free car now or what the good thing is. I can't find anything good about this.
I can't either, and we still also have a non-competitive corporation. It still costs the, quote, legacy costs of health care and retirement pensions. Still make them non-competitive with other automobile manufacturing, and I'm talking about manufacturing in the United States, in Tennessee and Alabama and Mississippi and South Carolina,
that's
where
Honda,
they make cars.
Yeah, they make Hondas, they make Toyotas, they make a lot of those in the United States.
A lot of cars are made in the United States, and the initial costs are far less because of these, quote, legacy costs that are left over from labor management agreements back when times were different, and the auto companies didn't adjust. Look, we've lost hundreds of thousands of jobs, and we've created hundreds of thousands of jobs as old corporations go out of business, and Google and Yahoo and all of these other new companies, corporations come into business. But I'm telling you, this is incredible to me, and I predict to you now that within 2 or 3 years, either General Motors and or Chrysler will go under.
You might be right. Hey, I don't want to confuse you, Senator McCain, but I also have another Russ in studio with me. State Representative Russ Jones.
Hi, John. It's Russ Jones.
Hey, Russ. How are you?
I'm good. Good to hear from you.
He's a great representative, Russ is. I've been happy to spend time in Yuma with him. He does a great job.
Well, if you say Russ now, we both go, huh?
Not you, Russ. Not Russ Clark.
Well, the good news, John, is I got my GM Pontiac GTO before they start building the cars that the governments are going to insist on building. So I think there's a fable about something about the 5 blind men to try and describe what an elephant was. Yeah, that's going to be like the government. That's how we're going to do cars from now on.
Well, I think another thing too, Russ. I mean, there's so many impacts of this, but who decides who the next CEO is? Who decides? More importantly, they're saying that they have to build, quote, green automobiles, which are smaller. But the question is, will Americans buy them? Well, we're all for more fuel-efficient automobiles. We're all for all that, but it's also a free country here where people can buy the car of their choice.
Well, right now it is. Now, I was just reading an article on China. China is directing people to buy small cars because they heavily taxed now anything that's large, and they raised the fuel prices up artificially. Government raised fuel to force it. Now, I don't see us going for that.
Now, you bring up that's a good idea. What happens if the U.S. government, because they have so much invested in this small cars and GM, the government car, government made, I guess, is going to be the new moniker for GM. And now they decide, well, we're going to give either tax credits if you buy our cars, or we're going to tax all the other cars more because our cars are better, and they're better for the people, better for the environment.
We've never seen government involvement in the free enterprise system as we're seeing today, whether it be the world's largest insurance company, whether it be the automobile industry, whether it be the banks, etc. And by the way, now Fiat owns a Chrysler. Do you know anybody that's bought a Fiat lately?
Not in the United States.
I mean, really.
What is a Fiat, by the way?
It's
mostly tractors, farm tractors.
Is that what they are?
Yeah, farm tractors.
Mexico and Echeverria toyed and played with this government-owned, running everything through the Conosupos. You remember that, John? Mm-hmm. And what a disaster it was for Mexico and their economy until they finally divested themselves of all the government entities that they acquired over the years.
And unfortunately, Russ, still to this day, there's too much monopoly over too many of their basic industries. That's why you see Mexican citizens coming across the United States to buy their goods and services, from groceries to others, because they've allowed in the telecommunications and other areas that there's monopolies. You know, the richest guy in the world, according to Forbes, is a guy named Slim from Mexico.
Carlos Slim?
Yeah.
I had heard that. Senator McCain, I've got a question. You brought it up about the government. Who's controlling this? Who makes the decisions? It's obviously not Congress.
Well, there's four guys. There's four guys, individuals, four individuals, none of the four have ever sold a car, that are basically running GM and Chrysler now. That's comforting, isn't it?
No.
Wow.
Again, during the campaign, I said that the old automotive jobs aren't coming back, that new technology is going to be important, things like electric cars and things like that, but it's got to be driven by the consumer as well as by the technology, not by the federal government. Have you ever what business has the government ever run that's been done so satisfactorily?
Yeah, I like the post office. Is a great example.
There you go.
Nothing outside the military. Nothing outside. The military does a nice job with a little different rules for the military.
Yeah, and by the way, we've had these fantastic cost overruns associated with the
military spending.
Yeah. By the way, if you read the New York Times, and I don't necessarily recommend it, but there's a front page story on Business Day. It says, quote, "The 31-year-old who is dismantling GM." It's not every day the 31-year-old who in his first government job finds himself dismantling General Motors and rewriting the rules of American capitalism. But that, in short, is a job describing Brian Deese, a not quite graduate of Yale Law School, who has never set foot in an automotive assembly plant until he took on his nearly unseen role in remaking the American automotive industry. That's comforting, isn't it?
No. That is even more so when you think about how many jobs has Brian had. Has he been a CEO of anything? Has he run anything large?
No, recent graduate of an Ivy League, of Yale Law School. Yale Law School. That's great qualifications.
Isn't this taking OJT a little bit too far?
Could be. And speaking of law school, I want to change the subject a little bit to Sonia Sotomayor. And obviously, that's going to be on your plate, and it's going to be something. And I've heard you do some other interviews, and I know you don't want to prejudice yourself by saying what you do or don't believe in, and you're going to let the process take care of it. But I have a question about her being, Hispanic and female, and so much has been made about that. That she's got to be given a chance because she is Hispanic, and people will be afraid because she is Hispanic to be rough on her. And my question is, are we going to give her the same treatment that we would whether she was a white male? Or are we going to give her special treatment?
I hope we will give her the same treatment we would give anybody, because we should be colorblind. Right. Whether we will or not remains to be seen. Like every nominee, we need to give her the chance to make her case. Elections have consequences, so presidents nominate, but the Senate also exercises advice and consent. And I would remind you that it was this president that tried to filibuster Judge Alito.
Right.
So I'm not saying we're going to filibuster. I have no information about that, nor inclination to do so at this time. But if the administration claims if somebody tries to filibuster Judge Sotomayor, then I think, they don't have any grounds to complain. And by the way, the treatment of Judge Estrada was terrible.
Yes.
Was terrible. And anyway, and one other point on time, they want to get it done before the August recess, etc. Took 93 days from the time of the nomination of Justice Alito, from the time he was nominated till the time he was confirmed, 70-some in the case of Justice Roberts. Both of them were ferociously opposed by the Democrats.
Mm-hmm. But there's many commentators out there saying that Republicans have got to be careful. You can't say anything negative because you would make mad the entire Hispanic vote out there.
Well,
do we pay attention to that?
All I have to say is that I believe that we will give her a fair and scrupulous examination, and if it makes anybody mad, then I'm sorry.
Good.
But it is my obligation. It's not a privilege. It's an obligation under the Constitution to exercise advice and consent, and that means consent as well. So, again, if someone of any ethnicity or political leanings is angered by me and John Kyle exercising our constitutional responsibilities and we're sorry, but that is the first priority. By the way, John Kyle is a senior member of the Judiciary Committee. Mm-hmm. He understands these issues as well as anyone, and I guarantee you he will do a fair and scrupulous job on the committee, along with Senator Lindsey Graham, who has already voiced his displeasure at this statement that Judge Sotomayor made about it being a Latino woman makes her more qualified than someone who is a white male.
And he was on this weekend's show, yep. Some of them voicing that opinion. I haven't heard anything from the judge, though, explaining that comment.
Well, the president made a statement over the weekend saying, of course, she was saying it in the context of the fact that she has a broad range of issues and experience always helps, or something like that. I mean, they are trying to repair that damage. But frankly, one thing that bothers me more than her statement is the vote in a ruling concerning a fireman in Connecticut who passed the exams, and because of his ethnicity, mm-hmm. he was white male, right. He was denied a promotion that he fairly earned. That to me is far more concerning than statements. Mm-hmm. Actual positions and opinions and votes in courts is what matters. And by the way, both John Kyle and I voted against Judge Sotomayor for an appeals court position.
Well, the fact that her ethnicity should not have any real bearing for the Supreme Court, because that's just, that should have no bearing on the decisions. It should be interpreting the law, not on your life experiences.
Listen, you've seen the
that's
statute.
What's scary.
You've seen the statue of the lady holding the scales with a blindfold on.
Yeah.
Okay? That explains it.
And they're not going to take that off, I hope.
Well, she also had another one reversed, which was where cost should be no deterrent to when it comes to green things in terms of cost. So she was overturned on another ruling that the environmentalists were very happy about, where you couldn't use cost benefit for determining whether or not what technology you should use on environmental issues. And so these things shouldn't have anything to do. So you look at the life experiences, whether it's being a green person or being a Latina, those should not have any bearing on your interpretation, not with respect to the Constitution of the United States.
I agree. Can I talk about one other issue with you real quick?
Sure.
North Korea apparently is going to have another missile launch.
Yep.
Look, the Bush administration mishandled this by giving out goodies and too many carrots and no sticks, and now the Obama administration is following down that same path. This is serious. They have nuclear weapons, and they have missiles. It will not be long before the missile and the weapon is matched up, and they can virtually threaten the United States of America. There are some 28,000 or 30,000 American troops in South Korea. The North Koreans have the ability, as you know, Russ, to set Seoul on fire, and militarily they're very weak, but they have the tremendous potential to do great damage. It's time to slap every kind of sanction on them. Mm-hmm. It's time that we told the Chinese that it's vital in our relationship to put the squeeze on North Korea. And besides that, they're one of the greatest abusers of human rights in history. So this is a real threat, and to just say, well, this is provocative and it won't stand, etc. It's time for concrete action against North Korea. And let me remind you what our Marine drill sergeants always say: if you're going to point a gun at somebody, you better be ready to pull a trigger.
Absolutely.
Senator, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Russ.
Yeah.
It's great to be with you, and thanks for everybody in Yuma, and thanks for the great job our Marines are doing.
Take care.
And Army.
Yeah, go Army. Sorry,
there
John.
you go.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.